What's up, Buffalo Bills fans? Happy Memorial Day weekend, soon to be. I don't know if a lot of you are off. I am today, so I figured great time to come on here and do a video. I think I'm going to even jump on after this and do a live one. See if some of you guys are out there hanging out, feel like BSing, or I'm just going to, talk away and see what happens. But either way, got to see our quarterbacks, a little snippet of them, in particularly our young quarterback Josh Allen, and I don't know. I take little I tend to extrapolate these little silver lining positives. That's just how I'm wired as a fan. I believe sports in general is for pleasure and entertainment and enjoyment. I know Bills fans. There are Bills fans out there I've seen on Twitter and whatnot, just in and I understand that the team has not been the best, not even close, and just as recently as last year tasted just a hint of success, albeit in a very small dose. They're just everything is a negative take. Everything is negative. When they win, it's like, well, they didn't win in impressive enough fashion. They got lucky. They can't continue to win like that. There's always something that is. They're the opposite of a homer. They're the polar opposite of a homer, basically. A homer believes everything the team does is the gospel and it's great, and everybody on their roster is a Pro Bowler waiting to happen and stuff. I try my best to fall in the middle. I really do. There's things I question. There's things I like. But anyway, yesterday, some of the things I liked, what I heard was that he threw the ball. It was different. I know we expected that, but that's a good thing. When you take an upper echelon talent at quarterback, you want his physical attributes to be markedly better. I mean, from the naked eye to the untrained eye, than the other quarterbacks that you have on hand, and that they're doing the same things, repping the same things, and when he does it, it's like, oh. Also, another thing I took was that he had the most impressive throw of the day. It was a seam splitter to Ray McLeod in between two safeties. Obviously, again, a non-contact, non-padded practice. Maybe if they were to be thudding a little bit or allowed to in an NFL game. But either way, 30 yards with that type of pass is also impressive. Another thing I heard was Chris Brown on the John Murphy show at the end of the show. I think it was hour two, started in the 2 o'clock hour, and he said that he was the most willing to go downfield. And again, in a OTA setting, which I heard by all accounts was very much like a training camp practice. It was very much like a training camp practice. That's good that there was a lot of tempo going on. There were more than one person said that the tempo was really, really good, that they were moving around. There was no stop and watching. There was just a lot of situational stuff going on. That he was the most willing to go downfield, and that, again, and that's his MO, but also that's how long have we wanted, or again, infantile stages. I preface everything I say, but a quarterback to push the ball downfield instead of taking the safe throws, being conservative. Not saying that there isn't a time and place for that, but still there is a time and a place where you see the better quarterbacks. They push the ball downfield, and in doing so, they're able to get those illegal contact calls, those pass interference calls, defensive holding calls, and then they're able to get their ball to the receivers and make plays. You see receivers make adjustments and catch balls that are not the most accurately thrown from all quarterbacks. We see that, but we've rarely, if ever, seen it from Bills quarterbacks. They generally have to be standing alone by themselves with no one really close to them. We don't see those quick hitting throws with somebody right on them. But again, very early stages. So that was an encouraging thing to me. I don't know if I'm if you're like a lot of you are like me and just got done listening to Sal. He was on for 5 hours today. There's no instigators, no John Murphy. I don't listen to instigators really. John Murphy sometimes touch and go for me, but I listened to Sal. Again, he had some interesting guests on. He had Josh Reed, not the Bill, obviously the reporter Josh Reed, not the Bills' former wideout Josh Reed, and he was talking about his conversations with Shaq Lawson, how he's trying to, figure himself out, or not trying to figure himself out. He's basically realized this is kind of a make or break for him, almost not in so many words, that this is a time that he needs to turn it on. He's changed his diet, realized, look, I can't be a kid in college anymore. I have to be professional and doing the things that he needs to do, because I think he realizes that his time could be limited given the way this regime, this coaching staff, this front office kind of moves on, jettisons players from prior regime. So I think he sees there's potential writing on the wall. Maybe not so much if he turns it around and does the things he's supposed to do, and they feel like he can contribute on a game day roster, then he could definitely stick around, because pass rush, edge rusher is a premium position in any defense on any team. That is a top 4 premium position, along with quarterback, left tackle, cornerback. That pass rusher spot is right there. So he has an opportunity, and you know what? The more good football players the Bills have, the better off they are, the better off the coaching staff, and the better off we are, because we get to watch more fun, enjoyable product. Mildred makes her on-screen appearance. She's going to take her afternoon nap. Hard not life for her, right? Also, I don't know if it's even Bills-related news anymore. But it's loosely Bills-related news. Richie Incognito situation just seems to have gotten weirder and weirder. His incident at a gym, the victim spoke. There's a recording of him with police, being questioned by police. FBI surveillance. Didn't want anybody within the vicinity because he was running some documents on his phone. Just erratic behavior. He just seems like a man without a country, and what I mean by that is he's a guy that football kept him as normal could be for somebody like him, because even though by all accounts, everything we heard, that he really turned it around and was a different person. There was noise last year that the Pagulas were not happy with his involvement in the Barstool documentary, the dildo throw and all the tailgate shenanigans, and he was involved with that. He was interviewed. They weren't happy with that, and then there was some other things Tim Graham spoke about on the Tim Graham show on Wednesday with Tyler Dunn. Really another insightful show. Bills fans should always listen, because when he drops Bills stuff, it's always pretty good. And I'll speak more about what he spoke about. But as it pertains to Richie Incognito, that there were teammates in that locker room that were happy to see him go. That he was could be an irritant. Definitely would say things that were maybe not the most savory, and just was kind of a loose cannon verbally, and that they felt like he was kind of a guy always on edge. And that there were guys in that locker room that were there that kept him happy, and that are no longer there. Chief Principal Eric Wood. Eric Wood's no longer there. And he was kind of the guy that kept Richie in check mentally. So, and probably Kyle Williams. But that's no longer the case. And Bills seemingly got out in front of a potential pain in the ass issue. Real pain in the ass issue. So again, I think when the guy's not playing football, he's just lost. He doesn't know he's again a man without a country. And it's of his own making. So it's hard to feel bad for him in that sense. But from a human element, I really, the guy is halfway to 40. He needs to go figure this out and get himself some help and not worry about playing football. But back to the team, McDermott, I should have started with this actually. Started the press conference off with not so much great news you want to hear with Zay Jones. Has a lingering knee issue that he had to have cleaned up that just seemingly wasn't going away through rehab. I don't know this, I am speculating, I tend to think it might be from that Jets game here in Jersey last year where he had, he seemingly was having a good game, even came back and played in the game, and then after that had to take like a week or two off, where he got hit on the knee, and it looked like it was a bad one. It looked like a really bad, where Ashley didn't get hit, he planted and his knee straightened, and from everything that McDermott says, it's not going to cost him 2018. Any time that he's going to be out for the rest of this spring, I'm sure they'll take it easy with him in camp. So if he's not out there right away and just doing stuff with trainers at camp, I'm fine with that. But also, you do want to see an already thin position and a young player getting reps with these quarterbacks. You don't want to hear about this type of stuff now, and it sucks, but again, these little silver lining positives I have to take or accept. McDermott said, "Well, take care of this now, because if this lingers on anymore, it could potentially, of course it could, into the regular season." They're like, "Let's take care of this now, get it out of the way, and for his benefit, our benefit, everybody's benefit." So I'm just speculating. I tend to think it came from that, and it's just something that he's been trying to overcome. Probably some meniscus he needed cleaned up or repaired, and he's going to be out anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks, I would say. So, best of luck to him in his rehab and recovery, and the tumultuous time the kid has had as a Bill so far. Had a rough rookie season, tore his labrum early on, I believe, in the season, or somewhere late in the preseason. Tried playing through it. All the turnstiles at receivers. No Bills receiver did much of anything last year. Given the situation with the quarterback, and it was just the situation this offseason where he had that incident in LA. It just seems like I just feel like now he's going to become a lot of Bills fans' whipping boy. Like, he's going to be a guy a lot of Bills fans' ire is going to be pointed in, because he's now the face of failure. He's McDermott's, he's a McDermott pick, so it's like, okay, this guy's supposed to helping us at an already really weak, thin position, and he's injury prone. He's going to start getting so much the Sammy Watkins treatment, more Marquise Goodwin treatment from Bills fans. But I hope, again, this is what it is. He turns it around, and he's able to, rehab himself as best he can and get back on the field. Particularly, he needs reps with these quarterbacks. There's no doubt about it. Bills, Buffalo Sabres Daily liked my photo on Instagram. That makes me happy. Notification. It's a fan account that follows me. I don't, I follow them back, but, that's kind of what you do, right? Somebody follows you, you follow them back. But outside of that, there was, just some player interviews. All the quarterbacks spoke, had a press conference. Obviously, we were more interested in hearing and seeing as much of Josh Allen as we can. Referenced Tim Graham earlier, get right back to that now. He did a really long, 5-part long form, each long form thing about piece right up in the Buffalo News about Josh Allen, his roots, and all the stuff he's had to just keep overcoming to get where he is at this point in time. And if you read it, it's really long, each part, but it's really, you get a decent sense about this. And this is not, we're not saying this is guaranteed, tried and true, he's going to succeed. And because I'm sure a lot of people, there's different ways, different types of adversity. There's kids with inner city that have overcome adversity, and him himself, he's a kid from a farming community, grew up on a farm, who's overcome a lot of adversity, and his story to keep overcoming those adversities, whether it was, if it was not getting the scholarship, wanting to go to San Jose State, didn't, passed him by twice, and all the stuff we already know, but some other things, just being a late bloomer, going to Wyoming, getting hurt the first year he was there, in his first game, overcoming that, supplanting people on depth charts just over and over again, and just kind of speaks to like this, and that football matters to him, that he wants this. This is not something he's just doing to be famous, that he wants to be an NFL quarterback. He wants to play quarterback in the NFL, particularly for the Buffalo Bills now, and he wants to be great at it. He just doesn't want to be a quarterback in the NFL. He wants to be a great quarterback in the NFL. And he let the trying to prove doubters wrong early on in his life eat him up a little too much, and he's relaxed that. He's very much more of a team guy, about the team. And if the few press conferences we've heard him in as a Bill, says nothing that would get a headline. He's very much the team speak type of quarterback in the press conference setting, and you could see why. He's starting to open, lift the veil on why a guy like McDermott liked him. Sans the physical attributes, the measurables. I mean, they're beyond reproach. But you could start to see why. And plus, fresh-faced kid, good look for the football team. It's just, again, this is not saying, oh, this guy's going to be good, he's going to be great. Oh, he's made it. No, it's so much more to do. And obviously now, he took he's been taking the third team reps, and I think that's part of what they do. They're weaning him in. They're not just throwing him out there, say, hey, you're out there with against the first team, because it is McCarron versus Peterman so far, splitting first team reps, and Allen is strictly on third team reps, which allows him to get all those reps, and then Peterman and McCarron can split up those first teams, because you can't have him if he doesn't win the job outright. Is it a possibility he can win the job? Yes, because of his physical gifts, and by all accounts, his acumen is up there. He's very smart. He applies himself, studying, and all the stuff we already know. All the stuff I've alluded to in my last video about him being a student of the game. You can't make him the backup, and then in a game where, let's just say, everything goes to hell, let's just say, God forbid, a repeat, not to the extent of the San Diego game happens, where one of the quarterbacks goes in there, throws 3 interceptions, 2 return for touchdowns, gets strip sacked on another possession, and Bills are down, 28, 30 some points. You can't throw Josh Allen into that game. You can't do it. You're on the road against a tough team, and either McCarron or Peterman get injured, and it's hard to throw Josh Allen into that game. I believe that they're the type of, especially McDermott, very process-oriented, detail-oriented, all the bases covered, and just every variable, every little nuance, minutia, micro, macro level, just poured over. He's going to want to put this kid in the most advantageous position that they can offer him in his first experience as a Buffalo Bills quarterback in a regular season game. They're going to, they're going to want him to have all the reps during the week. They're going to want him to work with the first team exclusively. That generally happens if it's in a regular season. If there's ever that quarterback switch, I mean, from any quarterback, it generally happens in a bye week, because there's 2 full weeks of practices to prepare and craft a game plan around the quarterback. And plus, he'll have had all that extra other time during the season to work, and I'm fine with that. Again, I don't need to see him thrown out there. I'm not sitting here, foaming at the mouth and salivating. We got to see Josh Allen week 1, and if he doesn't beat out such and such and such, he might. And I think that if he does, even then, they'll still want to pump the brakes, because this is something that they talk about, long-term build, long-term process, and they're not going to hasten it because, again, they don't care about noise from the outside. They don't listen. They don't have rabbit ears. These people do not have rabbit ears. We have to get our heads around that they're unlike anything that we've seen at One Bills Drive for a very long time. I don't know when the last time Marone had rabbit ears, but he did coach the football team in the sort of the same vein McDermott did. In time, they were very prepared. You can't say that they weren't. They were very prepared. They would go out and play hard. So we'll split other things. Where like the quarterback, was the big issue there. Obviously, as has been with the Bills for a long time. It's always been, irregardless who the coach was, the quarterback is, and has, until Allen. It's Allen, obviously, who proves that we don't have to worry about this stuff anymore. And again, going back to some of the stuff I've already said about, he's making the impressive throws in practice. He's looking the part, at least in a practice setting. That's huge. I made a joke on Twitter. I said, the pass, he threw was beautiful. And anytime I hear about a young quarterback in a Bills practice, whether it was, Cardale Jones, and then you go back to EJ in recent history, and I just think about that Latrobe, Pennsylvania practice, where it was the only time Bills media was always were just like, oh, EJ looks like an NFL starting quarterback. He looks like a quarterback. He's out there making impressive throws. It was the only time in his tenure that you heard it. The only time, and he was really mentally broken in that training camp, in that 14 training camp. It was brutal. And that was, obviously, they had brought in Orton, and I know I'm doing a lot of revisionist history here, because somewhat it is a little to look back on, but it is funny to peel over now and just kind of harken back to it. And I think about that, and I just always, what I'm liking it to, my example is going to be is, you never heard about EJ just making a wow throw in practice where he threw like a big quarterback and just rifled passes in there, and he looked different. Like other than physical stature, like he looked so discernibly different from a play ability standpoint than a Thad Lewis or a Kyle Orton or any of the other quarterbacks he played with, like Kevin Kolb for a brief period of time, where it was just like the variance in physical talent and throw making that was taking place was so there was just this broad difference. And even the first practice with Josh Allen, we heard a small amount of those things that were like, oh, he's more willing to go downfield. Oh, his balls, the ball he throws is way different than the other quarterbacks, and oh, he made the most impressive throw of the game. That's what I'm talking about. And you just never heard, EJ just never heard those things. And I might have used that example before, but what I said in one of my prior videos was I need to hear these things, and I need to hear them quick. And it didn't take one OTA practice that the media was allowed to attend for me to start hearing that stuff. And this probably happened in prior ones. No interceptions. Heard from Chris Brown on the John Murphy show that he was pretty accurate on all his balls. That he was pretty on point. And I didn't say what I was going to say. I wrote it on Twitter. I was like, so basically there weren't footballs, hitting cameramen in the stomachs and people in hospitality tents getting belted. And again, back to EJ, it was like that was a nightmare to relive that. I mean, to live, and now like you can laugh on it looking back, but that training camp in 14 with EJ was, for a Bills fan, like a nightmare. It was just like, oh man, even then it was just so trending, and that he was, and obviously he isn't, so I should stop talking about him. He was a nice guy, he tried his best, and the organization, again, at the time still wasn't near the stable one it needed to be for a young quarterback, and that's another encouraging component, a big component of this, is it feels it looks and it feels like this organization is finally in a place to provide the environment to, you know, foster a young quarterback to being a true blue franchise quarterback as opposed to a glorified gatekeeper or just a failed first round pick. So that they, at least from that standpoint, they have those pieces in place, because that is a huge piece. And I think a lot of times we don't see that stuff, we don't know that stuff, but when media who have no real reason to tell you anything, good, bad, or indifferent about the Bills except the truth, because only, what good is it going to do them if they go out and try to say, basically when we heard all those things about the prior cultures, that they were not good, that there was things going on, the coaches taking passive aggressive runs at each other with I don't need to go all over this stuff, but none of that stuff is going on. Everybody is knit together correctly, and hopefully, knock on wood, it benefits us and benefits them, and if it benefits them, we're the ones who are going to sit here and enjoy watching it on Sundays. Also, Tremaine Edmunds, from all accounts, looks the part, is a lot more mature than his years would indicate, and he's so young. I mean, I can't imagine myself at that age being in an NFL setting. I don't know. I would probably, but you look at this kid, he looks like the guy you create on Madden. It's kind of like Josh Allen. He's the guy you create on Madden, with the big arm strength and the size and the blended with that athleticism. And he's fully in there with the ones playing the Mike linebacker. And McDermott touched on that too, that he's the Mike, he's the guy that he's going to be in there, and he's been able to handle it. Lorenzo Alexander also said the same thing, that wouldn't be surprised if this guy is an first team all pro in 3 years. That's where he's at. And he didn't play that at Virginia Tech. He was more of the weak side linebacker, just the run and chase guy that you could just flow through the ball, try to keep him clean. So now he is the true blue with that length and that athleticism. His ability to get sideline to sideline, he could really make it hell, for a lot of reasons on opposing offenses. And given the reinforcements they have in front of him now, with Harrison and Kyle back for another year, and Starr, it's exciting to see and exciting to hear about. So, all right, Bills fans, let me know what you think. And I'm probably going to get on here, do a live, see what you guys are thinking, feeling, if any of you guys are around. But I said I would come do this after the first OTA. This turned out it was the third one. At the time, I might have said it, or I had just learned during that the Thursday was the first time the media was going to get to be there. And it's really the first time the Bills put out a whole lot. They put out the 3 quarterback press conferences. McDermott spoke, and a couple of little let's say highlight little snippets of the quarterbacks throwing and stuff. So it's whatever we can get at this point. We're about almost 3.5 months away from real football, like actual NFL, regular season football. But we were us NFL Buffalo Bills junkies. We take whatever we can get at this point. All right, guys, you have a great, safe Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy it. Have a whole shitload of fun. And first and foremost, be safe and take care.